Hello everyone, I'm Zach. In the last video, Gavin showed you how to attach the motors and wheels to your frame, and we'll be continuing today by designing and cutting out the electronics control panel, or ECP. Let's get started. The first step, like with most things in engineering, is computer-aided design, or CAD for short. For this tutorial, we'll be using a program called Onshape, but feel free to use whatever you're most comfortable with. Onshape is nice because it can run from a browser on any computer and allows multiple people to work on a project at once. Head to onshape.com and either sign in or create an account. Full disclaimer, this video assumes you already know some basic CAD, although you should at least be able to follow me step by step to setting up the outline if you're new, and we do have an entire video dedicated to CAD if you'd like to learn. Go ahead and create a new document and name it ECP. You should end up on a screen that looks like this, with large 3D planes in the center. From here, the first thing we need to do is create the hole pattern that's cut into the Go Build It channels. You can either grab a caliper and start measuring an actual bar, or take the easy route and grab a pattern off the Go Build It website. Go to gobuildit.com and navigate to Structures, Channel, 1120 Series, and click on the One Hole option. Download the step file listed below the project and extract it from the zip it downloads in. Now, we can import it into Onshape to begin work on our sketch. The part should be listed at the bottom of the screen next to Part Studio 1 and Assembly 1. Create a sketch on the top face of the channel and select the Project/Include tool. Drag a selection over just the holes and then click somewhere inside the gray square. If done correctly, when you hide the part, the outline and holes will still remain like this. Now, select the Rectangle tool and create a large rectangle that's the size you want your panel to be. In my case, that's 408mm by 288mm, which fits nicely on the frame that Gavin built in video number 1. Be warned, this size may be too big for some laser cutters, should you choose to go that route. Select your square of holes, copy and paste it, either with the right click or Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V, and drag it back to where it snaps over the original. Then, grab the arrow and shift it over to the other corner. This can be done simply by entering the width of the plate and then subtracting the width of the holes. Next, copy and paste both of your top corners. You can shift-click the top line to deselect it, and snap them to the bottom. You're done with the sketch. Hit the check mark to return to the main layout, and use the Extrude tool on the corners and the center, with the depth set to 2.5mm, and making sure New is selected. All that's left is to embellish it and position your parts. While you can create a new sketch on top of the panel to do this, it'll create problems later, so just edit the sketch we've already been working on. Feel free to add a logo, image, engraving, etc. to personalize it to your team's aesthetic. Pull out a ruler or caliper and measure any electrical components that you plan on adding to the board, and use the circle tool and the dimensioning tool to position them around your sketch. Like I said, this is under the assumption you already know enough CAD to use these tools, and if not, please refer to the CAD video mentioned earlier. I can't exactly demonstrate how to position these holes because it'll differ from team to team depending on what decorative designs you incorporate and any upper assemblies you plan to add, such as a claw, arm, or semi-automatic trebuchet. Congratulations, you have completed the CAD. Now it's time to create the actual board. There are two main ways to do this. First is to use a laser cutter to create it for you, and the second is to do it by hand with a saw and a drill. I will be demonstrating both. First, export the sketch as a DXF and download it to your computer. Then, go ahead and download a program called Inkscape, found at inkscape.org. Once it's been installed, use it to open your DXF file. You may have to right-click on the file and hit Open with Inkscape. Hit OK on the menu that pops up. The controls for navigating Inkscape should be fairly similar to the ones used for navigating CAD and other programs. Control plus right-click or middle mouse to pan, Control scroll to zoom, and all of your standard keyboard shortcuts that you'd expect in a program like this. If you're using a laser cutter, delete all of the lines that you don't want to be cut by selecting them and hitting backspace. It should look something like this, depending on your design. The next step is color coding it for the laser. Make it so all of your holes are one color, your engravings are another color, and the large border around the edge is a third color. Click on the paintbrush icon here, select Stroke Paint, and then mess with the sliders to change the color to whatever you want of the lines that you currently have selected. If you're going to make the board by hand, just delete everything except for one of the corner squares and its holes. Regardless of what path you're taking, hit Ctrl-A to select all, and then Ctrl-Shift-R to resize the canvas to fit your design. Then click File, Save As. If laser cutting, select Plain SVG in the File Type drop-down menu, and if working by hand, select PDF. Hit Save, and then close the program. Now this is where the path truly splits. If you're working by hand, you can jump ahead to the timestamp you see on screen. If working with a Glowforge laser cutter, which is most likely what you have if you do have a laser cutter, go to app.glowforge.com. If you have a laser cutter that isn't a Glowforge, well, then you probably know more about it than I do anyway. Sign into your account and click Create, Upload from File. Select the SVG you made in Inkscape. Once you can see your design on screen like so, select a material from the top left corner. Below that, you should see your design split into different tabs separated by the coloring you did in Inkscape. Select any tabs you want engraved and change them from cut to engrave. Also, reorder your tabs so the large outline is at the bottom. All that's left is to cut. Turn on the laser and vacuum, put in your material, hit start, and watch the magic happen. Your ECP is now complete. Welcome back everyone who skipped the laser part. It's time to make an ECP by hand. First, take your material and measure it out to the size of your ECP. Then, pick a saw that you have at your disposal and start cutting. Now it's time to drill the holes. Take your components and lay them out on your board like you planned in the CAD. Use a Sharpie, pencil, or pen to mark the holes onto your board, and if the writing utensil doesn't fit, then try grabbing a small screwdriver or file and etching the markings into the panel instead. With the panel marked, take out a drill and put a hole at each marking. Now, remember how I asked you to save the corner holes as a PDF in Inkscape? That had a purpose. Print out 4 copies of the PDF, cut them, and tape them to your panel. The square that surrounds the holes in the PDF should help you line it up with the corners of the actual wood. Drill as many or as few holes in each corner as you'd like. I did 3 holes per corner. Remove the paper, and voila, you have a working ECP. In the next video, Gavin will return to show you how to mount the ECP onto the frame and how to attach the electronics to the ECP. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.